So hello guys, today I'm gonna be talking about this animation that I did and posted on my YouTube. And I want to talk about what I did, what I didn't, and it's really simple actually. So I know this scene is all over the place because I have two stuff, uh, two different scenes, which it's not really like that complex anyway, but you shouldn't do that. But basically we are going to be making this shape and we are going to randomize their seed and their movement and other stuff, and later it's going to look something like this. And that's my camera going between all those cubes, and it looks cool. And the render in the viewport, it's not that nice, but in render it looks nice. But because my computer is not very good, I didn't do a bunch of this. But if you have like a really long trail of these and you have your camera going between them and dodging these islands, I think it will look really nice. And it's gonna be nice for a song even. But yeah, I'm gonna drop down to geometry for now, and I'm gonna put them in a box and call it recording. So I don't, just for organization purpose, so I don't mess up with those. Uh, this one is gonna be the cubes. This one is gonna be scatter of cubes. And we are gonna just start by dropping down an add node, and we are gonna have one point at the very center, uh, and then we're gonna drop down oh, actually this add is not used here. Now I think about it, grid is gonna be much more reasonable to have. But this grid is kind of big, so I'm just gonna drop this down to 2 by 2 and scatter some points on them. 1000 is a lot of points. I will do something like 100. And now we are gonna have so basically we want to have the boxes outside to be smaller than the boxes in the center. Therefore we're gonna have a point in the middle and an attribute to go in a circle way from the center to the furthest point on the geometry, which is a bunch of points basically. So we have this point in the center, and we're gonna drop down a mask from geometry. No, sorry, Ma mask from geometry, not along geometry. Uh, wire this one in and that one. Distance outside geometry. Change this to, oh sorry, maximum distance. So we're gonna measure from here to the furthest point, which is 2 by 2. But if it's parameter, then we are gonna have a slider, but we don't want that. So now if I display my mask, it should be showing my point is in at the origin, and these are, so I'm just gonna drop down a cube and copy 2 points. I think this way it's much easier to see the effect. This should be something small, and now if I display this mask, it still doesn't show. Oh, it should mean it should be points. That's my bad. So now you see these are gonna have an attribute at close to 1, and these are gonna be close to 0. And we're gonna use that later to have the cubes at the center to be much larger and much taller. And now we are gonna drop down for each point. We're gonna connect this here, and this should go here. But we are gonna also need this iteration node, because we are gonna go over each point and randomize the scale of this cube. But I'm not gonna change this box, so I'm just gonna drop down a transform node here, and we're gonna write some expressions here. But first, I'm gonna name this iter so we can refer to it easy here. In the scale, I'm just gonna say we need to access detail from I think it will be easier to open it here. So the detail function is looking for a node, which is the iteration we made, and named it iter, and we're going to close that, drop down a comma, and the attribute name is iteration. And the default value is going to be 0, but we also need to randomize it based on this attribute, and so randomize is going from 0 to 1, and we want to control that, so we're going to drop down a fit 0 1 and randomize it based on 2 channels basically. So channel 1 is going to be rsmin, rsmin, and channel rs max. So the reason why I have rs min and rs max is because sometimes when you type scale, you already have scale here and you're gonna get confused between them, so I just put down my initials, which is rs, but you can do whatever you feel comfortable with. We're gonna add some parameters here so you can change it easily. First one is gonna be rs min. It's really important to check this spelling and make sure you don't mess it up. And I'm gonna make the second one. The second one is max, rs max, and 0 to 10 apply accept. And if I display this node here, you see we have something. So if I for easier access, I'm just gonna make this 60. You see, this is nice, but I had an idea that the outer boxes are much smaller than the inner circles, boxes. And for that, I'm going to drop down a primitive properties, and this will allow me to control my geometry based on an attribute. And those controls are going to be scale and all the transformation functions. So basically I'm gonna just write mask multiplied by I'm gonna make another channel. Channels are very useful because you can easily like change them, and it's very artistic friendly. I mean artist friendly. rs val we named it, and it's gonna go between 0 and 1. I think that should be fine. So yeah, you see the effect now. If I have this longer and I don't like how small these are going, I can just go to this node and change this shape and edit it however I like, but I don't want this value to be 0. I want it to be zero point 0.1 because if I have it at 0, sometimes you're gonna have boxes that are 0, like this one, that one. Basically any point that's close to 2 and 2 is gonna be 0. So I want to have this at 0.1, but if you want to change it further, you can change it however you like. It's really nice and very easy to work on. So for example, you can have something like this, which looks like a sci-fi kind of stuff, but I'm gonna have the box a little bigger, 0.2. Let's try 0.2. Sorry. Yeah, that should be fine. If you choose thinner boxes, it might be nice. It just my computer is not powerful enough, so I'm just gonna go with that. So I'm gonna drop this down a little bit because I don't like that shape. But we are gonna make one more parameter because we basically wanna change the seed for this. We don't want every instance to be the same. Therefore, I'm gonna come here to this, and when you have the random right just outside of the random, sorry, uh, so this bracket starts here and this is inside of the random. So basically if I delete this, yeah, you see just inside the random we are gonna type plus channel and we are gonna name this seed, and if I change that seed, it's gonna random change the shape of this but maintaining the same parameters, sorry, the same shape overall. So the seed really doesn't matter where is it from, because seed is gonna basically work on increments, very small increments. You see, if as I slide this, it's gonna change, and we are gonna randomize this later. Now, in my animation, as you can see, these boxes are all going up and down individually, and also the instances are going up and down. You see every point is going randomly, and the way I did that is I dropped down a transform here and I'm gonna work on this. So I'm just gonna say sign of $ff plus channel, oh sorry, this is gonna be a random function for this one, because if I play it right here, it's all going together up and down. Therefore I need to access the iteration. So I'm gonna say plus, so basically we are gonna randomize it based on, I'm just gonna open this, it's easier to see, randomize it based on the detail attribute that we had, which is which is this iteration node, and the attribute name is iteration always, and the default value is going to be 0, and we want to fit this random between minus 90 to 90 because you know signs work on those values. Like if I don't put this minus 90 to 90, you are gonna see very minimum, like very minimum movement in the boxes, and we want to have at least one value up and down. If I put like uh, 180 minus and plus, it's gonna be 2 because the sign of 180 is gonna return uh, 2, I think. Or when it's going between 180, the sign is gonna return from 0 to 2. So until now, so I have to close the random as well, and then close it all and see if we did everything correctly. Yeah, we did everything correctly, but since you see some of them go up, some of them go down, and once they hit one increment, they are gonna stop. But since this has been a little like confusing, I'm just gonna go over it quickly. So we're gonna use sine function or cosine function, doesn't really matter, they are gonna return the same value, but only the timeline is gonna shift by one increment. So whatever you like, just use it. Sine of the frame, and this it's gonna work without this. It's absolutely fine, but we don't want all of the boxes to go up and down. We want them to be random. Therefore, we have this little line, which is fitting the random of the iteration between minus 90 to 90. I hope that makes sense. Like we have fit with random because random returns between 0 and 1, and random is looking for something like point number or any value, so it can randomize based on that, and we are going to use the iteration here in the for each, and I'm going to fit it between minus 90 to 90 because that's going to return minus 1 and 1 in the movement. Because if I don't use this, for example, if I just put 0 and 1, which is the default, you see the randomization is very minimum, that it's barely visible. Like you barely see it, but minus 90 on 90 is gonna make a big difference. Oh yeah, I should put minus 1 and 1, but it doesn't really make much of a difference if I even try. There's a slight movement between the boxes, but it's not a lot that you can feel it easily. Yeah, you see these two are very much apart, and here they catch up together. But if you want to have a drastic difference, you're gonna put down, for example, minus 2.70 and 2.70, which is 3 times or 4 times 90, I think. But then yeah, like some of it's gonna be very chaotic because some of them are still going up, and this box should be around here close to the rest, but it's going all over the place because they are basically 3 units apart. So I found that minus 90 on 90 is working great because it's only one increment, and you know it's random, but at the same time they are sticking together and very close. That's enough for this node. I'm just gonna name this output so I can refer to it later. And now for scattering, we are gonna use an add node, and we are gonna have a point at the center, and point replicate is great, for scattering points in space, but you also can have a box, ice offset, scatter, same thing. But I find this a lot cleaner, a lot easier to deal with, because in point replicate you can go to shape, it's a box right now, or you can add a noise to it, and you can even adjust the size, which is what I used, because uh, this shape is big, so we have to have the points a lot apart. 100 points is a lot because I'm recording and doing all this. I don't want my PC to slow down a lot, but I'm gonna drop down another for each point and randomize uh, my my shapes. Now I'm gonna drop down an object merge, and I'm gonna refer to the output I just used. Dot dot slash dot dot slash. Uh, I, I apologize, I forgot the name, cubes. So yeah, I don't want to confuse you guys with that shape, so I'm just gonna disable it. Cubes, the output node, and voila, we have it here. Just make sure it's in the center. Right now it it should be in the center, but if it's not, you're gonna have some strange results instancing on those points. So copy to points. We are gonna copy to these points, these objects, uh, and we also need to make an iteration, and we will name this one iter as well. Well, I'm gonna name it iter2 because we have another iteration and another node, just to not confuse between them while I'm explaining the rest of the video. I'm gonna name this one iter2. It would be funny if I wasn't recording or my microphone was off, so I just had to check. So right now all of the shapes are alike and they move exactly the same way, and we don't want that. Uh, so we are gonna sorry, we're gonna randomize the seed that we used in this cube. Sorry guys, for a second I was confused. I thought you had to randomize it here, but you have to go back here to this stage. I'm just gonna show these, and I'll show you two of these. They are the same shape right now, but if I come to where I have this seed, yeah, this seed, if I drop down a random based on the detail of so I'm gonna go to the iteration 2 that I used. So dot dot slash dot dot slash q, I keep forgetting the name. Cube is scatter. No, it's scatter of cubes. My apologize. I'm just gonna have this at 0 so you can see them and see what happens once I enable this. So cube is scatter and iteration, oh sorry, uh, scatter of cubes, and the node is iter2, and I'm gonna close that and access the iteration, and the default value is always 0, and I'm gonna close that. and close the random as well, and once I click here they're all gonna be random. Yeah, so now they all have a random seed, and if I go up here it should be easier to see, and I'm gonna disable that. So you see these are almost flat, this is 3 or 4 points up, this is 1, this is different from that, and they're all different. So basically we were in this node and accessing this iteration here, which is iter2. That's why I named it iter2, so you can you know which node that is and why did we access this one. And now they are all random. One more thing that I want to do is color them, I'm gonna drop down a color node, and I colored mine something I don't really remember, but I'm gonna do this, and they all have that for now. But if I do attribute randomize of the CD, we don't want to set value, we want to add value. Uh, so guys, so this is how it is right now, and we wanna inside sphere is what I use usually, and we are gonna multiply. I don't like how they're all very different. Oh my bad, it's not attribute randomize, it's attribute noise. Yeah, it's this one. So we're gonna randomize the CD, and we wanna add to it. So now they are kind of uniform. This is the original color, and we're gonna add to them. And it's positive. You can play with all these parameters if you want, but I'm just gonna keep it there. And I'm gonna make a path for my camera, so a geometry node, gonna call it path, and I'm gonna drop down a curve, and I wanna see my geometry. So basically we are gonna just draw here, snapping 2 points. We're gonna go from this to that one to this one, and then maybe to this one down here, to here. And now we are gonna separate these points. Sorry, turn off snapping. Because we don't want our camera to hit every every box. Make a camera, and in the shelf go to constraints, follow path, choose your path, press enter. It says look at object, we don't want to look at anything, or actually not yet. This is what I did previously and I hate myself for it. So I did a resample node and my camera basically like updates location based on these points, and I had the point count high, so it was terrible. But I recommend you to convert this to a NURBS curve. So it's gonna be smooth and a null. Now I'm gonna select my camera, follow path. It asks for my path, then I'm gonna press enter. Sorry, you don't have to go inside the node. I did that by mistake. So you just select the node, press enter. We don't want to look at anything. Just press enter twice, and now you have it. You see the camera is right on the path, and if I play through, it's gonna go. But because the geometry is very dense, I can't really play right now. I have to cache it out. So I'm just gonna cache it out real quick and come back to you guys. Okay, so I have some cache, 470 frames, and if I display my camera, I mean it's not perfect. Sorry, I just want those dots to go away. Please go away. That's annoying, and it happens very often. How do I get rid of it? Oh, like seriously, dude. The dots are annoying. Oh, I'm dumb. But sometimes I swear even this is not on and that still happens. And I didn't click on that. I don't know how that's on. Anyways, I'm just gonna go to this camera and play it a bit. It's gonna look something like this. Obviously you need to do a lot of work, but I like the fact that these have similar tone of color, and my camera goes into nothing. But I did a lot of tweaking for my version. Therefore you have to do a lot of tweaking for this version as well, tweaking the camera speed, all those kind of stuff. And later the rendering is also gonna take a heck of a time. But I'm just gonna play this from far. It's gonna look like that, but you see they're all static in their place, and I want to uh, I want to randomize their their movement as well, and we are gonna use the same expression we used here, just uh, sorry, this one. We are gonna use the same here, but multiply it by 5 or 6 or whatever you like. But my cache doesn't have that, and I can't play it here because you see it's very laggy. So I'm just gonna play what I have here since I have some cache. You see it's gonna look like this. Some are going down, some are going up, and it's not gonna look that interesting from here, but it's gonna look really nice from the camera viewport. Yeah, it's 34 minutes. I don't think anyone would like to watch a video this long anyway. So I'm gonna end it there. Just gonna dive into lobs and show you the setup I have. As you can see, it's super simple. I bet the recording is gonna be very laggy from now on because I'm gonna be rendering and recording as well. Uh, but I'm just gonna show you guys quickly. You can import the camera that you already had. You see, it's gonna look like this. It's really nice, and with Karma you can basically render a frame in 1 second and later denoise it and cops. I'm just gonna show you that as well. In cops, I have DXR denoise render out, and it's gonna look absolutely amazing. I mean, like 1 second per frame, it's gonna be different after like you erase the samples. It's not gonna stay the same because right now I'm using 9 samples. If I crank this to 128, it's gonna take some more time. But Karma is very strong and it looks amazing. Uh, for the materials, I'm using Material X, and I'm using import color, MTLX geocolor, to read uh, the colors. I have one dome light because I didn't want the render to take forever, and then Karma out. I hope you liked this video. I hope it was useful. I hope you enjoyed the video. Uh, I actually really liked it myself. I'm just gonna play it one more time before I end the video. Yeah. Anyways, that's it. I'm sorry the quality is really bad, but because I have work and other stuff to take care of, I couldn't like render it out in 1080 or 4K. I would love to if I had a more powerful PC, but that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I'm gonna try to make more tutorials once I have more time. I love learning Houdini, and it's a blast to render a video, and I really enjoy it. Thank you very much for watching. If anyone makes it through here, it means the world to me. If anyone is like interested enough to watch through the entire thing, uh, I'm so much more happy than you could imagine. Thank you very much, and take care.